Good morning, everybody. We are about to start the Keynote 1 of ours 2023. So I kindly request you to be seated. Keynote 1 for ours 2023 will be delivered by Professor M. Sornaraja, who is Emeritus Professor of Law, National University of Singapore, and it will be an online presentation, and the keynote is titled Sri Lanka as a Battlefield of International Law. I warmly invite Professor Kamina Gunaratna to introduce the speaker.
Good morning, everybody. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce Professor M. Sornaraja at our annual academic sessions today. I was rather overwhelmed when I tried to condense his CV into a few minutes, and I hope I am doing justice to him. Professor Sornaraja is Emeritus Professor of Law and former CJ Co-Professor of Law at the National University of Singapore. He was previously Tunku Abdul Rahman Professor of Law at the University of Malaya and the former head of the School of Law at the University of Tasmania. Professor Sornaraja gained his LLB first class from the University of Ceylon, 2 LLM degrees from Yale Law School and the University of London, and his PhD also from the University of London. He was also awarded an LLD from the University of London for his publications in international law. Professor Sornaraja specializes in international foreign investment and arbitration law. His research output and his list of publications is simply too long to mention. His publications also include those in areas such as criminal law, family law, and public law. In addition to his research output, he has also been on the editorial boards of numerous journals. Professor Sornaraja has taught and been a visiting fellow and professor in universities across the world, in Europe, in Asia, and the US. He has been an arbitrator in investment arbitrations involving a range of countries, and a consultant to many international organizations, including various UN organizations and the World Bank. I warmly welcome Professor Sornaraja to our academic sessions today and invite him to make his keynote address. Thank you.
I'm so happy to be with you today to speak at this conference of the Open University of Sri Lanka on a subject relating to Sri Lanka as the battleground of international law. I studied international law at the Faculty of Law of the then University of Ceylon in the very salubrious campus of the University of Ceylon at Peradeniya. Since then, I have taught international law. I began teaching international law at the University of Colombo. Thereafter, I taught it at the University of Tasmania in Australia for about 8 years, and then at the National University of Singapore for over 25 years. The present research project I have relates to the changes that take place in international law in present times. As a sub-subject of that research, I am working on the manner in which Sri Lanka has been affected by incidents in the history of international law and how the present climate of international law affects modern Sri Lanka. Indian international lawyers, to start at the beginning, have always maintained that they have had international law of their own. They begin with their great epics, the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, and point out that the wars that were fought during that time, the diplomacy that took place amongst the different personalities involved in those epics all contribute to the possibility of drawing rules of international law. So when it comes to Sri Lanka, for example, it will be said that Rama had intervened in Sri Lanka, bringing an army with him in order to, to recover his kidnapped wife Sita from the then king of Sri Lanka, Ravana. So a war was fought, diplomats were sent. Hanuman came to Sri Lanka as a diplomat of Rama. Uh, he burnt a city in Sri Lanka. Then thereafter, a war was fought, and it is suggested that the war was fought in accordance with certain rules. So here there is an effort, perhaps a very nationalistic effort, on the part of Indian international lawyers to draw rules of international law from these great epics and suggest that they were contributors to the early formation of international law. But that, however true that may be, the fact is that we are more concerned with an international law that operates in present times. And as far as modern international law is concerned, its roots are in the origins of colonial contacts which the European powers had with the peoples of Latin America, Africa, and Asia. We are here concerned with our own island country, Sri Lanka. When elephants fight, of course, grass gets trodden on. And it is true as far as Sri Lanka is concerned, because Sri Lanka has witnessed a contest between the then large powers of Europe taking place in Sri Lanka and in the vicinity of Sri Lanka. So we first had the Portuguese, whose method of control was through sheer violence. Then thereafter we had the Dutch, and it is suggested that it was the Dutch who first created a modicum of international law. We had the great writer Grotius, who is an authority both for the Roman Dutch law of Sri Lanka as well as for international law. He is considered the father of international law, and he wrote to a large extent at a time when the Dutch imperial power was taking control of much of Asia. They controlled or conquered countries like Indonesia and other countries, both in Asia and in Latin America. So that was a time when Holland, a very small power, a maritime power, threw its power into Asia and sought to control many areas of Asia, promote its spice trade, rule over the oceans of India that gave access to the Dutch trade to many different parts of Asia as well as Latin America and Africa. So it is in the context of Dutch colonialism that one finds the origins of modern international law. And sometimes, of course, Grotius is regarded as the father of international law. So we find then that while Grotius preached the notion of natural law or the law of reason being the foundation of international law, in a large sense, the intent of the Dutch was on the exercise of power in much of the Asian countries they ruled, including Sri Lanka. So though the justification for international law was given as the brotherhood of man, and Grotius formulated the principles of international law on the basis of the brotherhood of man, there was no evidence of such brotherhood in the sense that the Dutch were the dominant power ruling over much of the colonies they had captured. Then came the British, and they were no different. They also sought to justify the existence of colonialism on the basis that there was a standard of civilization and that they had a right to conquer people who did not conform with the standard of civilization that the Europeans had. So it was suggested that countries like India and Sri Lanka must be under the tutelage of the British, simply because of the fact that they owed the duty to bring these colonial people to the level of civilization of the British. So this fictitious notion relating to the standard of civilization justified the colonial rule of many of the countries of Europe. So international law in that sense is a very Eurocentric discipline. It was used in order to justify the uh, the domination of Europe of the rest of the world. So it is a Eurocentric law that ensured that it supported the maintenance of colonial power of the powerful countries of the world. And as far as I'm concerned, my preoccupation as an international lawyer throughout my life has been with the notion of power and power as the generator of the rules of international law. The Western international lawyers, of course, study international law differently. They regard it as a neutral discipline, the rules of which can be found through the studying of the customary practices of the different nations of the world. Being an international lawyer of Asia, I have taken a different view for the last several years that I have been teaching international law. The view simply is that international law is founded largely upon power and the making of rules by powerful states in order to enhance their own national interests. And it's an interesting way of studying the law because it is studied from the point of view of the fact that its origins were rooted in an unjust system of colonial domination of vast tracts of the worlds that constitute today the Latin American countries, the African countries, and the Asian countries. So it's in that context that I look at Sri Lanka as a state, a very small state that has been dominated by power from historical times. And then, of course, when you look at the modern period, the period that we live in, we see that there is a new set of powerful actors who have come onto the scene and who seek to make international law. So once the power of the British declined, the United States, of course, became a large power. There was, at the conclusion of the Second World War, the contest between the two great powers that came to the fore, the Soviet Union and the United States. So there was the Cold War, and in the context of that Cold War, the state of Sri Lanka, or rather the governments of Sri Lanka, sought to preserve a non-aligned policy, a policy that was formulated perhaps to a large extent by the larger Asian states, China and India. Jawaharlal Nehru, the Indian Prime Minister, had much to do with the formation of the non-aligned policy at the Bandung Conference in 1956, and of course Sri Lanka under the Bandaranaike governments particularly sought to adopt the non-aligned policy. So for a long time then, we were adherents to, and still in theory, we are adherents to this policy of non-alignment, in that we do not join in with any of the formulations of the law by the great powers of the world. But the fact is that once the Cold War ended with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, there was only one power left. And it's in the context of that unipolar world that many of the rules of international law came to be fashioned and continue to apply in the present time. So, what happened then in 1989 with the fall of the Soviet Union was that the American policies became the dominant policies that came to be followed or adopted in the world. So, in that context, we find that the United States adopting policies that were favorable to the uh, the, uh, the national interests of the United States. We find the adoption of twin ideas, the idea that democracy being the triumphant philosophy, political philosophy, must be the basis of the organizations of the different governments of the world. And as far as the economies of the world, the economy of the world is concerned, it should be based upon a policy that the free market should determine the manner in which international trade and even domestic trade functioned. So these twin ideas then, the idea of the dominance of democracy and the dominance of the free market were the organizing principles of the unipolar world that was led by the United States. And we see the effects of that policy in Sri Lanka. We, of course, were a democratic government. We always had democratic governments from the time of independence in 1948. So there was no problem as far as democracy was concerned. But the adoption of a free market philosophy became entrenched in Sri Lanka, at least as far as international law is concerned. We joined the World Trade Organization, which is the symbol of neoliberalism, because the object of the World Trade Organization was the promotion of a liberal rules of trade in the world, the recognition of intellectual property norms, the idea that trade barriers should be reduced. All these we adopted during that period when the United States was a dominant player in the political scene in the world. So in that context then, much of the beginning of the 20th century was spent upon the idea that the world must be organized in the image of the United States, the importation of the rules that the United States followed, both on the political front as well as on the economic front. On the political front, of course, we were to a large extent already in key with the ideas of democracy because of the fact that that is the system that we have adopted from the time of independence, though, of course, authoritarian tendencies were creeping into that system progressively. So as far as market economics were concerned, we see that Sri Lanka becomes a member of the World Trade Organization, and we adopt laws that ensure that we tie in with the objectives of the World Trade Organization. So for the first time, for example, we had copyright laws, patent laws ensuring that as the WTO mandated, our laws protecting intellectual property are similar to the laws that the instruments that are followed by the World Trade Organization, which in turn are very similar to the law that is internally followed by the United States. So you see that pattern then that developed at that time. And as far as investments are concerned, as far as foreign investments are concerned, we have a similar pattern in that Sri Lanka started making many bilateral investment treaties, and the practice of making investment treaties which ensure that foreign investment coming into the country is given protection on the basis of the rights to property that are maintained to a large extent in the Western systems, but principally in American law. So what one finds that is that both on the political front as well as in the economic front, we have the absorption of many of the standards of internal American law. We pattern our laws. The laws were previously patterned on the laws of the Dutch, then the laws of uh, of Great Britain, which was the colonial master, and now we find that in the market area, in the economic area, our laws become attuned to the laws of the United States, particularly in matters like the protection of intellectual property, as far as sale of goods are concerned, the banking practices, they all become tied to the practices of the United States, which are very similar to the practices that are adopted in Europe. So, to a large extent, then, this colonial idea that the powerful nations give the law to the less powerful is maintained through the notions of international law, in the sense that such international law creeps into the law of countries like Sri Lanka. So, but what happens in around 2008 is that there is a new player with large power coming onto the scene. And this is the rise of China. And it's an undoubted rise that is obviously visible and affects world affairs at present. So this is the change that takes place. I told you that I was studying the changes that take place in international law, and this is a change that is currently taking place in the world, in the sense that the unipolar world that was dominated by the United States immediately after the fall of the Soviet Union is changing to the extent that there is the rise of a new power, China. And of course, there is going to be, or is already occurring, a contest for favor, a contest between the two uh, large powers, the United States on the one hand, and China on the other side, with other players also becoming potential powers. Countries like Russia, countries like India are seeking to assert their, their dominance, and are also players who seek to influence international law. So we find, of course, Russia participating currently in a war in Ukraine, and of course formulating justifications for contesting parts of sovereignty over parts of Ukraine on the basis of international law. We also find, of course, the current Israeli war, which indicates again the idea that a power like Israel, which to a large extent is bound with the United States, has the right to take action by way of self-defense in order to quell the uprisings or the attacks that have been launched by groups like Hamas and Hezbollah on, on Israel. So there is a change that is taking place now in the sense that the rise of China will have an impact on the shaping of the rules of international law. And this is something that we must watch as a very small power. Already we see that within a short space of a week, there was a Korean vessel coming into harbor in Sri Lanka. There was the presence of a Chinese research vessel. There was a Japanese vessel going to Trincomalee, and the Indian minister for economics visited Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka becomes an activity of uh, intense interest to many of the regional powers. And we are going to be a scene of activity for a variety of reasons, not only because of the fact that the island is strategically placed, but also because of the fact that it is suffering an economic hardship. It is at the very bottom of the economic barrel, so to speak. And it is a time at which, a time of powerlessness, at which the major powers of the world would seek to gain would seek to gain as much influence and dominance as possible. So one has to be conscious of the fact that there is going to be a definite change that takes place and that we would become a battle for normative influence. I say normative influence because of the fact there would be a collision of two sets of rules of international law between which countries may have to choose. I mean, this was so during the Cold War when the Russians sought to formulate their own ideas relating to international law, and the Americans had separate views. And we are virtually coming back into a situation that is similar. So let me just identify one or two of such situations because of the limits of time that I have. So, to take one example, for instance, on the political front, we see that China very much provides an alternative to democracy in the sense that it projects the idea that every state may, particularly a developing state, may be able to develop much more quickly by adopting a system that is similar to the system that the Chinese had adopted. The system that is rather authoritarian, that dictates what the nature of the economy is, and of course, how a state should be governed. So when it comes to governance standards, whereas previously, of course, there was the model of democracy, the unipolar moment of the United States suggested the dominance of democracy. Now you have a different idea that an authoritarian state would be able to deliver economic development faster to a developing country than democracy would. Because China itself is an example in the sense that here you have a state that rose quickly to dominance through the fact that there was a single party in power which formulated its economic policies. So unlike in the case of a unipolar world, when it was thought that democracy would become the triumphant system in the world, we, for a change, now have two competing systems: the authoritarian system of China, and of course the democratic system of the United States. And of course, it's a visible fact that even in Europe, where you have countries like Hungary and until recently, country like Poland being ruled by authoritarian figures. In Africa, of course, authoritarianism is very strong. It is possible that the authoritarian model could take hold in other countries. And of course, it is suggested and that Singapore was an authoritarian state. And the Singapore model, as you know, was a widely admired model in Sri Lanka too, when the presidential system was introduced into our country. I would not want to sort of dwell on that matter, but we must remember that the present world, there is this tussle between the idea of democracy and the idea of the authoritarian state being a better, providing a better system for economic development than democracy would. Then I want to focus upon the notion of human rights. Again, the notion of human rights is something that's going to affect our country to a large extent in coming times, not only because of circumstances, because of the economic situation particularly, but also because of the fact that it is going to be an area in which the manner in which Sri Lanka conducts its governance is going to be assessed by other countries. That is going to have consequences for us in the sense that there could be trade sanctions and there could be other disadvantages that follow in not conforming with the human rights standards that are required by the rest of the world. So on that point, of course, the internal law of Sri Lanka also becomes a problem. The Supreme Court of Sri Lanka has for a long time maintained that the human rights norms that are articulated particularly by the United States must be received automatically into Sri Lankan law. So we have about 7 judgments of the Supreme Court in which the Supreme Court has held that there is an automatic reception of human rights law into the law of Sri Lanka. But there's one judgment of the Supreme Court, the judgment in the Singarasa case, that goes against it and says that such human rights norms or conventions that are made by the United Nations must be specifically received by the Parliament of Sri Lanka through legislation. So we have 7 cases dealing with the automatic reception of international law, and 1 case, the Singarasa case, a much criticized case, which says that you need specific legislation by our parliament for such a result to be achieved. This is a subject on which I gave a lecture in memory of my very distinguished teacher, Mr. Gunasekara, Mr. RKW Gunasekara, some years back. And I suggested that we should uphold the view of the 7 Supreme Court cases and reject the view in the single Supreme Court case against the idea of automatic reception of United Nations conventions in Sri Lanka. given that there is concern with the way that legislation like the Prevention of Terrorism Act function, it is best that the Supreme Court goes back to the traditional stance that it has taken on this. But then again, I must point out that the Chinese view is rather different. The Chinese view, unlike the view of automatic reception, is to focus upon domestic sovereignty, which of course means that conventions, United Nations human rights conventions, do not automatically apply in the system like the Chinese system. So we again are presented with two models, and a choice between these two models has sometimes to be, sometime soon, may have to be made by our courts. So on the human rights front, then, there's much work to be done. And again, I must say that because of this change that is taking place, the change to a multipolar world, we would be faced with the existence of different attitudes to what should be done. Going to the economic front, then we also see changes that are taking place. During the unipolar era of American dominance, the prevailing view was a view that is said to be based on the idea of neoliberalism, the idea that the market should be the dominant decider as to what an economic rule should be. So this would mean that market forces should be the determinants of what the internal economy of a state be. And it's probably a rule that has been followed to a large extent in recent times by Sri Lanka, or probably from the time of independence in Sri Lanka. We have not known of a system which was based upon heavy regulation. But the alternative system, of course, is the Chinese system, which requires the state to intervene in order to ensure that there is a certain amount of equality that is restored. So we have two competing principles here. Unlike many other democratic states, Sri Lanka has always had a welfare system introduced rather early into the country. And this welfare system sits to some extent very uneasily with the notion of neoliberalism. It does provide a safety net to the people, the poorer people of Sri Lanka, despite the fact, of course, that there is still a certain amount of poverty. We always ensure that there be free education, that there be free health facilities to the people, and that minimum standard of provision of food material was always there. The advent of neoliberalism and the continuance of neoliberalism would ensure that there is a continuing erosion of the standards of welfare that existed in the past. So what would happen then under the system would be that the safety nets available for the poor would be reduced at a time when there is this economic crisis that is ongoing. Clearly, of course, many children are unprovided for at the moment. They go hungry, but there is no way in which they are delivered sustenance by the state. The continued adoption of neoliberalism, which perhaps external economic institutions may insist upon, would require Sri Lanka to embark upon a path that is one that undermines the welfare system that has existed in the past. The other consequence of the adoption of neoliberalism is that the gap between the rich and the poor would widen. And that is a phenomenon that one sees all around the world, not only in Sri Lanka, but for Sri Lanka, the visibility of that phenomenon will greatly increase. The fact would be that the rich would be able to have plenty, whereas the poor would have a diminishing source of sustenance that they would have access to. And that would be a dangerous situation that would possibly confront the country in time to come. It is a matter that obviously requires attention by the governments that rule over Sri Lanka, though it is uncertain as to whether such attention would be paid. We also come to the notion of military intervention. I started with the idea of Rama intervening in Sri Lanka, fighting a war against Ravana. But that idea of intervention is going to become more intense as time goes on. Not only because of the strategic location of Sri Lanka, but also because of the great vulnerability that Sri Lanka finds itself in. So it is a dangerous time for us now, in that we would become a true battleground between the regional powers of the world. One of them, of course, is a large power, China, which has a program, the One Belt and Road Initiative, that it has embarked upon, giving assistance to countries on the Pacific and the Indian Pacific and the Indian Oceans, and of course having a land route right into Europe. So this assertion of Chinese influence is going to matter in the future, and there would be a increasing Chinese presence in our region, particularly in the Indian Ocean area. It's not that the Chinese had not intervened in Sri Lanka before. There is the famous incident in the historical past. The Chinese admiral Cheng Ho came to Sri Lanka, got hold of our king, and took him back to the court of the emperor. And when he sent back, he was assassinated the day that he came back to Sri Lanka, and the much admired king, Parakramabahu, took over from that king and made Sri Lanka into a more prosperous state. So Chinese influence has been there in the past, but Chinese influence in Sri Lanka would increase, and there would be no doubt a contest between the increasing power of China and the alliance which the United States has made with India, Japan, and and Australia. The fact that these four countries seek to contain the rising power of China would mean that they would continue to show an interest in the island of Sri Lanka. Sorry. Besides that, of course, there are other areas of interest that we must have regard to. There's concern with the resources of the sea. And again, we see that this is a situation that has not been addressed adequately by Sri Lanka. The Express Pearl disaster is something that has not been dealt with in any satisfactory way, as far as one can see. The amount of damage caused is in no way in proportion to the amount of compensation that can be secured by the litigation that is ongoing. There's also the problem of bribery, which continues to haunt Sri Lanka. Again, international law has conventions and models of rules which could be introduced into the country so that there could be a solution brought about to this problem relating to bribery. The environmental protection, the notions of climate change, the continuance of adherence to rules of non-alignment, and of course, the rejection of the earlier Eurocentric views are matters that need to be continuously explored by international lawyers in Sri Lanka. So this is a subject of immense interest to Sri Lanka. And of course, there must be a body of people who are well versed in these areas so that Sri Lanka could construct rules or favor rules or adopt rules that would suit its national interests and ensure the betterment of its people. So I shall stop there, and thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Swarnaraja, for that very thought-provoking speech. Now we will have the second keynote speech of the day, delivered by Mrs. Maria Obraztsova, who is the director of the Institute of Additional Education at the Innopolis University in Russia. And to introduce her, I would like to invite the director of the International Relations Unit of the Open University of Sri Lanka, Dr. Prasad Senadira.
Ayubowan everybody. So it is one of the significance of the hours this time is the presence of two special invitees to grace this event. So they are from the Innopolis University in Russia, and we are looking forward to develop a partnership with them. So these two distinguished academics from the Innopolis have already made a significant contribution to this series of events, and this time it is Ms. Maria Obraztsova who would make the second keynote address. Yesterday we had a very insightful pre-conference workshop conducted by Mr. Islander Berev, and so today's this event, the Miss Maria let me introduce her formally. She is the Director of Institute of Additional Education of Autonomous and the Non-Commercial Organization of Higher Education in the Innopolis University. And she has a long CV, however, I am going to present it in a very brief way. So she received her basic degree on philology from the Kemerovo State University, and after that she has done a master's degree in management from the National Research University, and she obtained her PhD in the field of specialty theory of language. And she has served as a teacher in Russian language and also the the senior lecturer, associate professor of the Department of Stylistic and Rhetoric and the deputy acting head of the department, and also head of the organization of the organizational programs of the Center for Projects and the Practices at the Innopolis University. And she is at present the director of the Institute of Additional Education of Autonomous Non-Commercial Organization of Higher Education, which is more or less similar to the mode of education that we are practicing. And she's an expert in the field of digital transformation, technology trends, the education system, including online education and effective communication. So she has received the letters of gratitude from the Prime Minister of Russian Federation in 2022. And it is a privilege for us to invite you to this podium to conduct your keynote address on the distance learning methodology, increase in quality without loss of increase in quantity without loss of quality experience of the Innopolis University. So she would be conducting this in a more interactive manner using some software. It's all to you.
Thank you so much. One moment, please. Okay. Is that okay? Yes, it's okay. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here in the Open University Research Sessions 2023, and I'm pleasure to share with you our methodology of distance learning. Our university is a university in the youngest city in Russia. Innopolis is the very, very young and very, very small city. We were created only 2015, and we are a small IT city, smart city. For example, with only self-car taxi park, we have not driver, and our university is the center of our city. You can see our university, our main buildings. Innopolis University specializes in education, research and development, and I think that Innopolis University is the more IT company with education license than traditional university. Before I worked in the traditional big university, and there are other processes than Innopolis University. We are a very small university. We have only 102,039 students in higher education. We specialize in IT, only IT. We have programs at next spheres, robotics, AI and data science, software engineering, and cybersecurity. But in the additional education, we are very, very big, and every year more than 30,000 students study at our programs. We specialize in the development in the IT, and we created our own software programs and some technicals. And also we international university, the base language of education is English, and now our students from more 30 countries, and we have many professors from other countries. For example, We find professors in the different areas, but with industrial experience, and usually they have experience in the big companies such as Microsoft, Samsung, Intel, Gazprom, and others. We specialize in the full cycle of innovation implementation, and we have competencies in the all digital technologies, and we created industrial centers such as transport, finance, healthcare, agriculture, gas and oil, and others. And now we have more 100 commercial projects in portfolio, and for us very, very important to create results of intellectual activity. And for us very important that intellectual property results must have commercial potential. And if a patent or program product is not sold, it means is not competitive. The market does not need it and is useless for us. We work with biggest Russian companies and foreign companies such as Huawei, with some China companies, and now we have 297 industrial partners. We specialize in the full cycle: consulting, research, development, implementation, services, and education, higher education and additional education. I want to watch you a short video about our self-driving cars. We have a Center of Robotics, Federal Industrial Center of Robotics, and we make many different self-driving vehicles. And you can see my city. I live in Innopolis with small children, and you can see in this video our city too. Okay, I will tell you about our cars. It's our cars, and we make brain for these cars. Also, we have our drones, our cameras, self-driving cameras, after boats, after robotics underwater. You can see our university and our very comfortable and nice small city. Our cars are industrial cars, and if you will go in Innopolis, you can see self-driving taxi. This taxi from the big Russian IT company Yandex. Maybe you know this company. And you see our self-driving Kamaz. He can drive in the forest and small rivers. And the specific of our cars that they can drive without map. They are smart. And I like Asian weather and Asian natures, but Russian forests and rivers are very, very beautiful. Okay. Next. Okay. I said about that my institute of additional education, is the largest department of Innopolis University, and we work with different focus groups and B2C, B2B, B2G, and our mission, we train in-demand specialties for the leading economic sectors and government positions. We help businesses implement new technologies and improve skills of experts. We started in 2016, and in 2020, the Institute of Additional Education was created. We very small, we very young, but we have very, very strong command. Also, at the moment, more than 67,000 people have already completed training in our educational program. And now we have many students in the distance, in the other areas and other countries. And I tell you about our methodology some later. You can see our competencies. Our course, we specialize in IT. IT for development and IT for simple people, for different companies, for medicine, for agriculture. And my boss, Iskander Baria, said yesterday about AI in agricultural sectors. And our industrial center specializes in the different technology in different big companies. Our courses are for both beginners and experienced IT specialties, for kids and adults. We work with children after 14 years old. After 14 years old and adult, and the oldest our student was 71 years old. This different auditorium. Our competencies include business education, bespoke corporate training system, assessment of staff and students, and we are the part of big federal projects of IT education of Russian students, and we are the assessment center, federal assessment center, these students by IT companies, or by IT competencies, sorry. Today, I would like you to share with you information about distance learning methodology. Nowadays, when technology is developing at incredible speed, distance learning, of course, is becoming increasingly popular. And I would tell you that until 2020, Innopolis University decided that only offline, face-to-face education is good. We are a small, closed city. All students live in Innopolis University all time. The main part of professors live in Innopolis too. But 3 years ago, when we had a meeting with the pandemic, we understand that we must go to online, and it was very, very difficult. But in my last work, I specialized for making online courses. But the University of Innopolis has not online platform, has not some digital technology for education, and we started to create this technology together. And we were that online education is the better than offline education. And I kindly you ask I want to ask one question for you. What opportunities does online learning provide? It was, please scan QR code. Please take part in my presentation. Scan QR code, take your phone, scan QR code, and please write your answer. When we think about online education in Innopolis University, it was the main questions for us. I give you 1 minute, 30 seconds, 1 minute. We like different interactive formats and gamification of online education. Okay, yes, for us, flexibility is the main part of comfortable, convenient online educational. Learn at your liberty, our own space of learning, freedom. Okay. And I want to ask one question about difficulties. What are the main difficulties of online learning? What are you doing? Take your phone, scan QR code, and also write your answer. What's the difficulty of online learning? No social interactions. Self-discipline, yes, it's a very big problem if our students have not self-discipline. Laziness, yes, of course. For me, it's very, very difficult task to study at online course. But I'm director of additional education, and we have many, many quality students in online, but it's very difficult tasks, especially when you study adult people. Adult people have job, have family, have many, many, many social tasks, and usually they cannot find time for education. Okay, I save your answer and send final presentation, and you can see this answer. Okay, let's go. Of course, the important element of distance learning methodology is flexibility. Flexibility conveniently to other students, to different students. Students can study materials in a time convenient for them at an acceptable path. This allows them to adapt to individuals' needs and learning rhythm, and harmoniously integrate education into every day, especially when we say about educational of adult. Another important aspect of distance learning methodology is the active use to interactive technologies. Students can communicate with teachers, with other students in the chats, in the web conferences, in the different students' club, chat rooms, and others. This provides an opportunity to share knowledge, ask questions, and receive feedback, of course. Most of us have had close contact with online learning 3 years ago, but now we can see that many universities in the world became masters in the online distance education. But when we started in online education in Napolis University, we answered the questions what the difficulties. First of all, we needed our own platform, learning management system. We find the ready services, but we understood that we need our own platform, learning management system, and we started to write this platform. It was very difficult, it was very expensive, but now it's very good services, it's very good solution for us. At first attempts to use it began back 2019 with the implementation of a federal project for 200 people. But now the platform is very strong, and the platform has authorized access to service, provides storage and data protection on the third security level, to automate process integration with internal application and services of Innopolis University has been implemented, which can significantly reduce process and time. We can integrations with our technologies, our business corporate technologies such as CRM system, electronic officer and others. And for example, we make all business process of our online education automatically. For example, certificates of course completion are automatically generated on the platform. When receiving a state usage certificate or diploma, the student's data is loaded into templates and forms, so there is no need to fill them out manually, and the risk of errors is minimized. Also, our platform can take your opportunity to create courses and educational programs. And also for us was very, very important to create individual educational trajectory. For example, our students inject assessment and go to different levels of one course. In one course, we can have more 100 individual educational trajectory. You can see a graph of people courses on the other platform, for example, and from the graph we can see how the increased transition of online courses in our platforms. At 2019 we have only 5 online programs and only 9 visitors, but now at 1st November 2023 we have 71 programs and more 200,000 visitors. In addition, with the framework of federal project assessment, we organized assessment all students of Russia. Our model of IT competence in the federal agree with federal and IT society of Russia, and we organized assessment of all Russian students by IT. Today, our LMS platform has become part of the general educational digital ecosystem. It's named Unified Multifunctional Educational Platform, Unity the following service under the digital wing. We have authorization service, OneID. We have portal or title list or news portal. We have courses catalog, assessment services, software catalog, LMS, of course, service of support, messenger of LMS. We have services club for our experts and our students, constructor of educational programs, and of course metrics. And now more 67,000 people were on our platform, and there can be 15,000 users here at the same time. For us, very, very important digital analytics, educational analytics. We save educational digital footprints of our students, of our listeners. We analyzed a big data learning analytics every day. The digital footprint reflects all the action of the listener and allows you to access the degree of his activity and interest to the learning process and this course. You can see a screenshot from our platform, screenshot on the Russian language, and which footprints we can save. We can record fellow digital trace. What lessons have been watched? Average percentage of lesson completed. Video, text, homework, testing. Average percentage for unfinished lessons. Average percentage of unstarted lessons. Viewing depth of video lectures. Average time spent on the platform. What devices are used for training? how the listener passed the test, how the student completed his homework, how much time the student spent on homework, when the student joined and started taking of course, feedback of training in general on individual lessons, attendance, of course, grades from teacher for completing assignments, and materials uploaded by listener. We make dashboards in each online courses, and for each experts, each professors and others. And analyzing the average time spent on the platform allows you to estimate how much time users typically spend on learning during the time. And this data for us is very important because we understand that we have typical listeners, and he has only 30 minutes a day for learning, or maybe 1 or 2 hours twice a week, for example. Analyzing the number of completed and unstarted lessons help us evaluate how attractive the course content is and determine the need for modification our courses at every month, for example. And so, based on the above indicators, even the beginning of our journal, we were able to conclude that the effectiveness of trainers has not dropped compared to synchronous or even more offline training. Despite all the benefits of distance learning, there are also some challenges that we face, of course. One of these challenges is the level of self-discipline. I saw this wrote on the slide. Yes, it's very, very big difficulties for us, self-discipline and motivation among listeners. Unlike traditional learning, where students have a fixed schedule and physical presence in class, face-to-face contact with professors, in distance learning they must organize their own time. Next, I will tell you which measures more about our effective methodology. But first, I would like to ask your opinion in 3 questions. The first questions, one moment, I show QR code. The first questions, what are the reasons for the low level of knowledge when we are learning online? What do you think? What are the reasons for the low level of knowledge when we are learning online? Low control, but when we analyze footprint, our listeners, we know about them all information, which device they use, how long time they watch this video, which lessons unstarted or unfinished, for example. No motivation, less interaction, yes. Non-confidence, maybe. Limited self-discipline. No life control, lack of interactions, and the central part, the low control. And okay, let's next questions. So, one moment. Please choose answer. Why didn't you complete your last online course? What was your reason or excuse? Or maybe you finished all online course, you are great. I don't have enough time. I was too difficult for me. I cannot achieve myself. It's about me. It was boring. Another reason, maybe. And you are great, I've finished it. Oh, super. The most popular answer, I've finished it. Let's Very, very good. And the last questions, finish questions for you. What do you think are the most effective methods to improve the quality of online learning? You can write your answer. It may be one word or a couple of words or sentence. And in these questions, you need to write your name. Each service is anonymous. Don't be afraid. You can write any your name. What are the most effective methods to improve the quality of online learning? Live interaction, using modern platforms so that learning is more fun and impressive. Yes, for example, for children, for new generation. New generation live with gadgets. Sometimes I can say something for my sons and I write them letter, message. Studying with tutor, yes, and I will say about our methodology of tutor methodology. Create community, give learning automatics, face-to-face meetings. Thank you for your answer. More games, create community, provide personalized support. Thank you, and let's go. And I would like to tell you about our methodology of work with motivation our students. What helps trainees stay motivated and complete their training successful? Our graduates are part of the talent pool of leading IT companies. We have very, very strong graduates, it's true. This includes adding to the number of employers in our city. Innopolis city has two hearts. One heart of our city is the Innopolis University, and second heart of our city is special economic zone with many different IT companies from, and international IT companies too. We often train specialties in the request of a specific company. There will be ensure 100% employed. Science Innopolis University has strong friendly relations with organizations in various industries. And we can provide students with internships, demonstration, real cases, and successful solutions. We think that it's very important when students can see real solutions in the different industrial areas. The online format made it possible to invite experts from the largest companies to educational programs, and any students from anywhere in the world is able to receive the most current knowledge. Study group chats are excellent for maintaining motivation, where participants exchange ideas, knowledge, experience, help each other complete tasks, or work together a final project. Moreover, students' communication in chats continue even after completed education, and we are glad it. And it's one of the pleasant bonus for our students and graduates, online quiz, gifts, sweepstakes, and usually we give good discount in the next hour courses for our graduates. And also our graduates can become experts or tutors of our courses. A separate category of our students is children. And since 2022, Innopolis University has been implemented into one federal projects, Russian federal projects for children, for school children after 14 years old. It's federal Russian projects called Code of Future, and our government decided that all the main part of children must have known coding or different development language or parsing or maybe data science. And it's federal projects, and now more 10,000 children study at our courses. And for us, it's very important to make gamifications and interactive format for our students. We take ratings, time frame, collection interesting prizes or mascot or funny elements of educational platforms. We organized different funny events. For example, you can see Russian screenshot. It's a funny game for our graduates when they can press the button and choose any prize. For example, this right shopper, discount, thermocup, books, or others. Also, I want to share you with our specific tutor methodology. In addition, tutor plays a special role in maintaining the quality of online learning. We started to work with this methodology after 2020, when understood that online is very difficult for us, and we have many students with less self-discipline. Tutor for us is a personal helper, our students. It's a man, it's our employee who work with our students. Most of our students have a request for subjectivity and personalization of education, which is why we have introduced a tutor into the educational process. This is a specialist who, together with students, builds his individual educational program, motivating him to study and self-development. In the European traditions, a tutor is more of a typical tutor, but in our country, in Russian tradition, it's a mentor who accompanies the student along the educational path. Our tutor methodology helps to increase academic achievements, positive feedback from learning, and the number of students completed the educational process. How does this happen? The listener regists on the educational platform, and the first person who meets him is the tutor. He invites the listener to undergo diagnostic or assessment and select a course or maybe model or maybe individual lessons that close the gaps in the educational at the moment. We fundamentally leave that function of live human communication to the tutor and do not farm it out to a chatbot or neural network. But of course, we use a chatbot and neural network, but tutor is a central part of this methodology. This makes is good. Create good relationship between our students and our teachers' command. We are convinced that when a person is a stage of determination, trying to understand which profession to choose, which educational course will be most effective for these goals, it is live human communication with a tutor that will be the most valuable. In the area of digital transformation, we're trying to maintain a balance between digital and live human communication. Throughout the entire training, a student can turn to a tutor with questions about finding an expert, a teacher, or he can simply complain that it's difficult for him and he wants to quit everything and all. A tutor will help him find the strength and energy to complete what he started. In Police University, we prepared comment of tutor by ourselves, and we have a tutor support sectors in our institute, which currently includes 74 tutors. Since 2021, we have already training 250 tutors, and 98% were employed of university projects. We can base comment, this comment includes 74 tutors, and we have reserve with tutors after our education. Our experience shows that a tutor can accommodate a group of 70 to 100 people. We have ratings of tutor when the experience of support specialties is 1 or 1.5 years, and he sees his potential to be a mentor for line specialties. Such tutor can move to the rank of senior. Therefore, the number of senior specialties does not exceed 15% of total number of tutors. We have some digital services for our tutors, such as CRM system, in Innopolis University corporate portal. Tutors analyze learning progress logs on the educational platform. Also, they use Telegram bots and chats with students. They analyzed all chats of our students with teachers, with experts, with professionals, with industrial partners. And when tutor sees that we have some difficulties, he go to senior tutor, and we decided these problems. And you can see on the slides the medium percentage of graduates with tutor support research almost 95%. Of course, we also collect feedback from students of the quality of tutors and experts and teachers, and it's ensure the most comfortable interaction with each student. My finished slide, and also step of our methodology. Of course, it's very great speakers. And Innopolis University has always had a team of strongest teachers in a variety of areas and disciplines. For us, very important that our speakers, our experts, our teachers have industrial experience in the big company in Russia or other countries. We have professionals from Russia, Italy, Great Britain, Singapore, India, Australia, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Pakistan, Iran, and other countries. And all of them are high professionals, both in teaching and the subject areas. For example, we have many interesting experts and professions, because for us it's very difficult task to find stars professionals from our country or other country. For example, we have Professor Giancarlo Succi. Giancarlo has extensive industrial experience, and he was engaged in scientific work in the Ferrari racing team at a time when the team won Formula 1 and took the 10 constructors champions. And he is the pioneer of popular now methodology, Agile. He was one of the 5 persons who created Agile. From year to year, we replenish our collection of top teachers, and the same topics, this can be different experts depending on the audience. For example, we work with different audience, government audience, business audience, children audience, and we can choose good speakers, good professionals for our audience. It's simple steps for increase quality of educational programs, but when we control all steps, we can make high quality educational programs. And if you remember some of my presentation, we can increase quantity without loss quality. Thank you for your attention. You can see my contact. You can scan QR code. You can write my email. And if you have questions, you write to me. We can make issue session, web conference, and tell about our specific services and programs. If you have any questions, you can answer now. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Maria Bratsova, for your interactive speech. Next, we have the academic session on ODL, and I would like to invite Ms. Geeta Kulasekar, the theme convener of the session, to introduce the chairperson of the ODL session.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now we are going to start the open and distance learning academic sessions of OUSL 2023. There are 5 papers to be presented in this session, online and on-site. And now I would like to invite Professor PMC Tilakaratne, the Vice Chancellor of the Open University of Sri Lanka, to chair the session.
presentation and followed by the 5 minutes Q&A.
Good afternoon. I'm Utpala Athukorala from Institute of Technology, University of Moratuwa. Today I'm presenting a preliminary study on student performance in face-to-face and online delivery modalities of operating systems module. These are the things that I'm going to discuss during my presentation. This study was conducted for students who follow National Diploma in Technology in Information Technology, or else we say NDT in IT. You may have heard about NDT. NDT has a long history, but NDT in IT course, it has started in 2019. And for the study, I used the module operating systems. That is a module taught for students who are in first semester in NDT in IT course. It's a 2-credit module, and it has 1 hour for lecturing and 2 hours for practicals and tutorials. And I used 2 batches for this study. NDT 2018-19 batch, that is the very first NDT batch, who learned 100% offline. And the second one, NDT 2021 batch, 3rd NDT IT batch. If you can remember, during this time we had to face COVID pandemic situation. Because of that, we had to change our delivery mode. So there we delivered their lectures in online mode. So there are, except several practicals, all the other lectures, assignments, and practicals were conducted in online mode. So the primary objective of this study is to evaluate the performance of the students who were subjected to 2 modes of delivery in the module operating systems. Here you can see what is the methodology that I followed. Learning materials, the same lecturer use same lecture notes, tutorials and practicals for both batches. And method of delivery, as I mentioned earlier, for NDT 2018-19 batch is offline, for 2021 batch it is online. And for this course we evaluate using 2 components. This course we evaluated using 2 components, continuous assessments which worth 40% and final examination which worth 60%. For continuous assessments, I used 2 components, mid-examination for both batches, examination conducted as a Moodle quiz, and continuous assessment for NDT 2018-19 batch. I had a group presentation based on emerging topics related to operating systems, which worth 20%. When it comes to NDT 2021 batch, there actually I had to change the way of continuous assessments because I taught them in online mode. And if you can remember, there was a circular telling that the module leader has the flexibility to change the way of assignments which is suitable for online environment. So there I had to change the continuous assessments. I used, when I designed those continuous assessments, I noticed the interaction between students and the lecturer is somewhat low with compared to the offline environment. So there I just thought of improving that. There I used 1 continuous assessment which is which is a group activity to design a poster using a breakout rooms facility in Zoom. The other one, using quizzes as a game. I used a software platform called Quizzes. It's a totally free software platform which is similar to Kahoot. I think you may have heard about Kahoot. Quizzes is also something like that, where I can design quizzes using animations and music, which is very interesting for the students. And at the end, I can see the leaderboard. That means who are the winners or who has scored top. And I can, so what I did was every week I published, in the Moodle I published who are the top winners or who are the students who have obtained top scores. Actually, it was a motivation for them to participate to the online lectures. I think you also will agree there are problems of student participation, especially in online lectures. So there I improved it, and from students' feedback also, I learned that they were very motivated to participate in lectures due to that gaming platform. And final exam, so those are the continuous assessments that I used. And final examination, it's a 2-hour written examination in the same format for both batches, which worth 60%. Now I come to results. Here you can see the gender distribution of both batches. And this is the mid-semester examination results of NDT 2018-19 batch. There you can see there were 6 absentees, 3 students who failed, that means who has obtained less than 8. And to pass the mid-examination, they have to score at least 40% out of 20. That means they have to score 8 marks. There were 89 students who have passed the mid-semester examination. Here, pass rate is 96%, and mean of the marks is 14, and standard deviation is 3.3. So most of the marks lie between 10.7 and 17.3. And here you can see final results analysis. Here for these results, we have considered both continuous assessments and the written paper or written examination. There the pass rate is 93%, and mean of the marks is 64. Standard deviation is 13, hence most of the marks lie between 51 and 77. Then I come to the next case study 2, that means results analysis of NDT 2021 batch. This is mid-semester results analysis. There you can see there were 2 absentees and 7 students who failed the examination, and there were 90 students who passed the examination. This is the batch who learned in online mode. And here pass rate is 94%, mean of the marks is 11, and standard deviation is 3.4. So most of the marks lie in between 7.6 and 14.4. And here you can see the final results analysis of the batch who learned in online. There the pass rate is 72%, and mean of the marks is 54, and standard deviation is 21, hence most of the marks lie in between 33 and 77. If you look at these 2 results, that means final results of both batches, there we can see a difference. Online, offline learned batch 93%, online learned batch 72%. But here I have to clearly mention, here I have done an evaluation or related to the student performance. This is not a comparative study. Why I have used different questions for both batches for examinations. So here this is not a comparative study. I have learned what has happened for the students who have learned in offline mode and online mode. From the results we can see students who learned in offline, they predominantly showed better performance, but here I cannot directly say that is because of learning environment. So there I have to do a separate study to find the results, find the reasons to learn what has happened. So there I have to find what are the factors that have been affected for online learn batch to reduce their performance. So as a future research, I am planning to do a separate study to find the reasons for performance degradation in NDT 2021 batch. Sometimes the learning environment may be one of the factors for that. I don't know, I have to study that. If that is so, then I can find what kind of things that I can do to change the learning environment to improve the status of the students. So that is my presentation, and these are the references that I followed. And thank you very much for listening to me. Have a nice day.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Sathukoral. Interesting presentation. So I open the floor for any questions or the clarifications. Yeah, here.
How did you conduct the online examination? That is proctoring system or whatever the thing that is not being revealed to us.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's working.
Final examinations, it was offline for both batches, but for mid-examination, it's a Moodle quiz. The only difference is the physically learned batch, they did the examination in an examination setting at ITMO in our institute. The other batch, they did the mid-examination at their own places, right? So there I did not use any proctoring. What I did was, I know that means there are no limitations, because online learn batch they can find in internet, they can ask from peers, because they did the mid-examination at their home. So they are to reduce, I don't say that I did this in 100%, to reduce to asking for help from peers and finding the searching in the internet. I set the time as a competitive, and that means there were like 40 questions, and I set the time as 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, what will happen? The quiz will be closed, automatically closed. Then since the time is competitive, students did not have time, I assume that did not have time to ask for from peers and they may look at their notes and so on.
How do you make sure that the same person as the student who has registered is written the exam or someone else?
Yes, sir, that problem has there. But in that time, we didn't have a solution, because we used the COVID pandemic situation. We cannot bring them to the university, so we had to do like that.
Right.
And if I can I show
enough because we don't have time. So one more question.
All right, sir.
Let's say you said online and offline, and you have used that interactive social media like Kahoot.
Yeah, quizzes.
Yeah, quizzes.
Yeah.
So it is for student engagement.
Yeah.
So let's say in the physical class like this, right? Online class. My experience is online class, because camera is switched off by the students themselves. They answer very well. In the physical audience, they are very reluctant.
Yeah.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
So therefore that, the final results mainly based on the what is called a student engagement. Whether you know that, because online classes they used to record as well. The physical class there is no record as well. Whatever you know that you are delivering to the audience. So some you know that subject matters you know absorbing, some are not, and like that.
Yes.
So therefore it's very you know that so you need to do this study, right? Further you know that elaborating some of the, let's say, online techniques, embedding where that available tools, not only the techniques, for the you know that student engagement.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Okay, now, so we'll go to the next presenter. The paper title is, it's online presentation, Perceptions of Teachers and Learners about Online Learning in an Electrical and Electronic Engineering Degree in Sri Lanka. Presenters are Sandarenu and D.G. Jatung. Okay. So you will have 10 minutes to make your presentation, exactly for 10 minutes, because we are running out of the time now. Yes, please, start.
Our research topic is perception of teachers and learners about the online learning in few electrical and electronic engineering degrees in Sri Lanka. This is my content. First, we will move to the introduction. As the COVID-19 epidemic's aftermath had varying effect on very less. So because of this, there have been noticeable increase in online education since the outbreak to the temporary close of the education institution. So now we will move to the abstract. Due to the temporary close of the educational institution during the COVID-19 pandemic situation, online education was enforced across the world. However, this transition from a traditional classroom environment to an e-learning environment has led to several arguments. Despite the COVID-19 epidemic being 4 years ago, some universities continued online learning while others reverted to the traditional on-site education system. This study aimed to determine how well online learning was perceived by both students and teachers. To carry out our study, 2 questionnaires were prepared and distributed among students and teaching staff in 3 engineering faculties in some Sri Lankan universities. The questionnaires were prepared to collect their view on online lecturer session, online examination, and online lab classes. Abstract continue. The analysis of the data revealed that both the students and teachers' satisfaction with the online education will be impacted by the quality of equipment. One of the main issues raised by the lecturers were how poorly the student interact with the lecturer owing to the concept of remote learning. Another finding from the students' questionnaire, data analysis showed that the maximum online session length that the student could tolerate was 1 hour to 1.5 hours. In addition, around 2/3 of students who participate for the survey choose a mix of both asynchronous and synchronous education system. As a conclusion, the traditional education system will be effective for exams and practical lessons, and a combination of synchronous and asynchronous teaching method will be fecunded for learning and teaching concepts. Now we will move for the methodology. For our research, we use an online survey and 2 questionnaires aimed at both lecturers and students. So it receives response around 92 students and 15 lecturers. So the prepared survey fell into 2 main categories, e-learning for students and e-teaching for lecturers. The e-learning questionnaire consists of 24 MCQs and 3 essay type questions. The e-teaching questionnaire consists of 17 MCQs and 7 essay types. Now we will move for the result. Here we have gathered some of major results we found from our questionnaire. From your left side of the figure, you can see there is a bar chart that is for collection of both lecturers' response and the students' response for the problem related in the online education. Basically, most of the students were complained regarding that means their education were affected due to basically the power and network failure and also the equipment failure, and in the meantime noise around their learning environment and the shortage of resources are badly affected. In case of health issues, most of them were suffer from the headache, then the vision issues, and also they were difficult in adapting to the new online education system. Then we have gathered how the bearable time for an online session by a student. So as you can see in the right side figure, the maximum or the majority was selected 1 to 1.5 hours. As you know, now normally in our lectures we are conducting about 2 hours, but the majority of students hasn't choose that one. Around 3.5% of our sample choose that option. Then again we have asked comment from both the student and lecturers on the opinion on synchronous and asynchronous education. So as a majority, both the students and lecturers chose a mix of both. Finally, we have asked the idea of the views on the online examination. Not on in case of teaching and the practicals, we asked about the online examination. So as the student perspective, some of the key ideas were gathered here. Many of them have faced power or the network issues when logging, attempting and submitting the answers to the exam, and also failure of devices were also affected for them. Then a considerable amount of time wasted taking images and converting them into required formats such as PDFs. Then the negative effect of the background noise when keeping concentration on the exam paper. Then finally, the requirement of assessing previous or upcoming questions in case of online papers if unable to do the current problem, so that they can omit hanging on to a difficult problem and wasting time. Then in the lecturer's perspective, the major issue was the misbehavior practices of the students such as impersonate and the plagiarism. And also they were faced difficulties in marking and grading the uploaded answer scripts. Then finally, to overcome the plagiarism between the peers, lecturers had to create question pools with same weight for the same question. So it has created an extra workload for them. Then finally, from our research, we have concluded that the most effective way to conduct online lectures is delivering the lessons synchronously and upload the recorded video of the lecturer at the end of the lecture. Then regarding the online examination, there are some limitations in both students and lecturer perspective. However, if we can adopt new technologies like lockdown browsers, Zoom, usage of web cameras, and generating questions from question pool and conducting small viva session after the examination, online examination process will also be more productive. Then in terms of online lab classes, conducting simulation lab sessions with synchronously a recorded live stream hardware basis lab will be provided more knowledge on subject materials. Then finally, the responsible authorities have a commitment to establish well-developed power and telecommunication system throughout the country. So therefore, it can establish a well-prepared online education system. So finally, we are like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to everyone who helped this research, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate your presentation. So any clarifications and questions to the presenter? Why that? What is the difference of electrical and electronic engineering? So
no, sir. We gathered for the sample. We selected electrical engineering undergraduates and the lecturers. That's why
your
we selected that
focus group.
Because the lab processes and other things may different from subject stream to stream. No? So we were focused on this way.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. There is no questions. Okay. All the best. So we'll go to the next presentation. Presentation number 3. Study on student dropouts in the BSc degree program at the Anuradhapura Center of the Open University of Sri Lanka. Research done by the KG Jayalath, LMSS Bandara and PLSI Sudaraka. We can learn a lot from that why our dropouts from Anuradhapura. BSc degree program. Yes, over to you.
Sir. Good afternoon, you all. I am Kumudika from the Anuradhapura Regional Center. Actually, title of this abstract is A Study on Student Dropouts in the BSc Degree Program at the Anuradhapura Center of the Open University of Sri Lanka. As you all know that the Open University of Sri Lanka is the only national university to facilitate the education solely through open and distance learning model. Then Anuradhapura Regional Center was established in 1988 as the 5th regional center of the OUSL to expose the higher education needs of the students in the North Central province of Sri Lanka. However, in this year, the number of students registered from the Anuradhapura Regional Center is not sufficient for the BSc degree program compared to the students registered from the other regional centers established after the Anuradhapura, such as Battikolo, Kurunegala, and even Badulla. So I have gone to the literature and see what are the reasons to drop the degree, because the new registrants depends on the number of dropouts, because they are the people who bring our name to the community. So I thought to do the research to see the number of dropouts at the ARC, and engineering faculty and the natural science faculty has been introduced. The completion of the BSc degree program depends on the attendance for the academic activities, and competency in English at the entry level are major factors. In order to that, health science faculty also reported their dropout rates. Most of them are in working environment, and little comparatively, it is lower than our results. Then my objective was to analyze the dropout rate of the students who registered from Anuradhapura for the BSc degree program offered by the Faculty of Natural Sciences. Thereafter, the second objective was to identify the reasons for dropouts and suggest some strategies to overcome them as a university. Then we'll see the methodology. This is the sample selection part. New registrants for the BSc degree program from the Anuradhapura Regional Center was collected for 5 academic years from 2012-13 to 2016-17. These are the 5 academic years I have selected for this study. Then data collection was done from the personal files at ARC, and I have gone through all the files and collected the registration numbers. And you all know that OUSL Management Information System, we can see whether they graduated or not by looking at the academic status. Then I have gone through the academic status and see whether they are eligible for BSc or whether they graduated or not graduated. If they graduated, I also got an idea when they graduated, how long they spent to get the degree, and if they are not graduated, further gone through the academic status and see whether they re-register for this degree or not. If they re-register, if it is years, it means they are still continuing the degree. Then it doesn't matter for us, they are still continuing the degree. Then I see number of years, how they spent to do the degree so far. because some students are getting more than 3 years, we all know that one, they are getting less number of credits. Therefore, I see the number of years after the first registration. Thereafter, if they are not registered, means they drop the degree. I categorize them, they drop the degree if they not registered. And further confirm it through the mobile calls, and I call to them and confirm whether they drop the degree, and also ask the reason to drop their degree. Thereafter, the convocation with the students through the mobile phone, I have coded it, and thematic analysis was used to identify the reasons to drop the degree. Then we will move to the results and discussion part. This graph shows the comparison of academic status of BSc new registrant for the 5 consecutive academic years. As you can see here, how many students dropped the degree. When you see the graph, you can see highest number of registrants in 2016-17, it is 60. Today, it is less than 60 actually. But when you look at that, 140 students dropped the degree here as well. The number of graduates are also very less. Then they are giving the message to the general public also less in that area. Then in order to that, dropout rate with the number of years after the first registration is very important, because if they drop the degree in the first year, means we have to think about that one as well as a university. Then when I consider this, I have observed that the drop the degree during the first year is range from minimum 50 to maximum of 72. It means 50% of students usually drop the degree. At least 50 students usually drop the degree during their first year. Even today, it is happening. And gradually it reached to 70 to 93% when we go in for the 5th year after the first registration. Then I got some responses from the students, and their wordings are given here. The reason to drop the degree: my babies are not well, it means it comes under the family circumstance, and after the marriage they have to go to the goal, it means relocation or family related issues, and no money, financial issues. And also I noticed that the financial issues indicated mainly by the poor performance students. It means they have to pay the degree again and again for the repeat subjects. That's why when I going through the academic stage, they had poor performance. Then that may be the reason to cause them for financial difficulties. Others are not said about the financial difficulties. Poor performance students only said the financial difficulties during this study. Then and also some students got another opportunities after registering for degree, teacher training. They entered to the teacher training college, work as a tutor, and they do not have enough time, and nursing officers are there. Those are the reasons related to the employment issues. In order to that, some students said, one or two students said they were unable to go to Kandy or Colombo for practical sessions. Even the day school, some students indicated. Then I categorized the reasons for dropout into 4 themes: personal circumstance, employment, institutional constraint, and the learner context. And personal circumstance codes are family-related issues, relocation, financial issues comes under the personal circumstance. In institution, employment means new or current employment issues. And the institutional context, academic support, administrative support, and learner resources may be indicated by them. And learner contents, I got that one because it is related with the time management. They don't know how to manage the time for their study. It is learner context matter. Then I would like to go for the conclusion of this study. The average rate of dropout rate of the BSc degree is 76% from the Anuradhapura Regional Center, and during that period, And the reasons for the drop in the BSc program are categorized into 4 themes: personal circumstance, employment-related issues, institutional contest, and the learner contest. When we go for the institutional contest factor, it is under university control, such as unavailability of academic activities at the ARC, Anuradhapura Regional Center. Example, day schools, practical sessions, and peer-assisted learning environment. When we consider the day schools, now everything, I think, we are doing it in online mode, and it is slow by now, but some of practicals are still not doing at the ARC, so we have to think about that one as a university. And peer-assisted learning environment, we have to develop there, but the lack of students is also a problem there. Then we'll try our best to do that one as a lecturer. Then in learner contest, issues related to the study time management can be minimized by the university to some extent by proper personal counseling during their registration. We usually do in the registration, then we can identify their personal issues individually, we can talk with them, and we can register for them manageable credits, and we can help them some extent from the university. In order to that, the most of the students who registered after the academic year 2015-16 have more than 4, now it is more than 4 academic years to complete the degree. Therefore, as personal counselors or academic counselors, we have to identify the poor performance during the first re-registration date, and we want to advise them complete the degree slowly and motivate them to achieve the target as academic counselors. And however, I have done this for 5 academic years, 10 years back to 5 years back. So I would like to suggest future studies to identify and expand the themes and the codes further by identifying the current reasons to drop the degree, and as a university to develop some strategies to overcome them. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Right, thank you, very interesting presentation. So now floor is open, that very few questions. Yes, please. Yeah, we are analyzing the dropouts, good that, but your conclusion is, let's say 50%,
I think
the level 3, okay.
Yes, good presentation. I think we have been looking for that, find it out the reason for dropout in that, not registering more students in the Anuradhapura Regional Center. But one thing I just want to know is, because we have started our practicals, maybe after the 2016 and 17, and 2 permanent academics have been permanently stationed at the Anuradhapura Regional Center. I think you need to find it out the reason that after that.
Yeah, sir.
Right, after that, that's also because impact has to be revisited after that one, because until 2016-17, that particular observation that you made is maybe correct, because no people are here, no practicals are there, and then automatically dropout rate will be increased. But now things has been changed, and you have to do it again for the next years as well until 2023-24.
Yes, sir, I have already started, and also during this study also some students may resolve their family issues by now. When the students at more than 35 years now, they resolve their problems, and 2 students came and say they will register for the next academic year, because we can motivate some extent.
Yeah, okay, good. We hope that, Anuradhapura, you will give them more moral support for them to, that, of course, come to the center and, that continue with their studies.
Thank you, sir. For the level 3, all together around 100.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So give, round of applause. Young researchers. 4th presentation, we have embracing of the full potential of ODL resources, a study on work-related audio and video production at OUSL. Ms. M.K. Jayakodi.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Mayanti Kulatunga Jayakodi, attached to the Center for Educational Technology and Media at the Open University of Sri Lanka. And my study is on embracing of the full potential of ODL resources, a study on coursework related audio and video production at OUSL. So as we all know, most of us are from the Open University. We know that we are the premier ODL institute in Sri Lanka and the only state university that fully follows the ODL system. And another thing that we all know is that in the ODL system, the difference between us and the conventional university system is that we don't expect our learners to attend day schools. It is not compulsory. If they wish, they can. But our main mode of knowledge transfer is through course material, which the academics are supposed to write, develop, design, and write them. Apart from that, we also have online material, and then we also have audio and video material, which are also called AV material. So I'm focusing on AV material. So as we all know, AV material provide flexible opportunities for the learner to study at their own pace, time and place. So because our student population is mostly a working population, so they can use this AV material as and when they have the time and pace to go through them. Apart from that, apart from writing course material, as we all know, the main role that an academic of the ODL system is supposed to write course material, but they are also expected to produce course related AV material in line with what they are teaching. And also in this regard, we have the Center for Educational Technology and Media, which is also known as the CETME, which plays a pivotal role in providing guidelines for designing and developing educational resources through media. And these AV material that are produced by our OUSL academics, they are uploaded to the learning management system and or to the official OUSL YouTube channel. But till the pandemic hit the world, we were mostly relying on course material. That does not mean that our academics did not make any AV material. They did. There are lots of academics who've done quite a lot of AV material, but the pandemic made us realize that it is high time that we produced more AV material because the need seemed to be more relevant than ever. So the research problem that I came across was that in spite of having all these resources available within the central campus, a center to provide all these details, these facilities, there seems to be a low output of AV material compared to what we can be producing. And then the other one was, there are lots of AV material that seem to be temporarily stalled at the editing stage. Even if you go now to the library, you will see there are quite a lot of AV material that needs to be edited and completed, right? So the aim of the study was to focus on discovering the issues behind this less number of course work related AV material produced by the OUSL academics, and through that to look at the possibilities of minimizing these issues so that we can strengthen the ODL practice at the OUSL. So to do that, I followed this methodology. I gave out a questionnaire and it was circulated among 400 academics of all 6 faculties. But as you can say, very sadly, I had only 30 responses, which was not enough. Actually, I had to send it twice over. I know all are very busy because this would have just missed out of their email inbox But I could have stopped the study, but I think the main reason why I still wanted to go with such low responses was because there are no unpublished or published studies conducted on the reasons behind this dearth of AV material produced at the OUSL. And the other thing is, me belonging to the SETME, I got the urge to do something to develop the center so that everyone will, think more about this issue and try to make use of the facilities we have at the SETME. This was the reason why I wanted to have this study. And then the questionnaire covered a few open questions and closed questions. And they spoke about the experience, the non-experience in producing coursework-related AV material, then the issues the academics were facing, and whether they want to produce any such material in the future, and what they thought about the training they received from the university, which was also very important. And the content analysis was made on the data collected relying on the quantitative research method. So when it comes to the results and discussion, out of the respondents, most of the respondents were actually senior lecturers, out of which except for 2 people, the others had made only 1 production each, which showed that we could make more. And also, there were some which were made as back as April 2021, and still they were at the editing stage. So the researcher wanted to find out why these were getting stalled at that particular stage. So the researcher asked for the reasons behind the incompletion of the production of AV material. One was the workload, that they were loaded with work, which is understood in the department. And they could not prioritize producing AV material because, like I told, they have to design and develop course material as well. And then certain academics who have started these AV production, they have gone on study leave. And then the crew that we have here, they are also assigned to so many other jobs like promotional videos and other work in the department and faculty, so they are also not available all the time. Then the transport issues for outdoor shootings, and they were worried about the training and the guidance that they need because not everyone is a film producer. And then the lack of motivation and guidance of the course team. So then we discussed how we can minimize these issues. One thing was, we have to be aware of the fact that as ODL academics, we are supposed to make this AV material because it's part of being an ODL academic. Even in the CTHE program that is offered by the Staff Development Center, every academic is taught that it is one of our foremost duties to make sure that we make learning resources, including AV material. Then the other thing is, when someone is going abroad on study leave, you can easily assign that duty to someone else to complete the editing. Also, there is a particular procedure we follow when we book the studio or the technical officers. There is a form in the intranet that you write to the director SETME and you ask for permission, and then you follow a procedure. When you do that, you can minimize these problems. And then, of course, it's better if you can attend to your editing within the first 2 weeks or the first few weeks, so that your interest and the enthusiasm is still intact. The further you drag it along, you lose the interest in completing the video. Then, about the academics who have received training, unfortunately 25% of them had not received any training. But the thing is, SETME does conduct training programs on producing AV material, including planning, script writing, filming, editing, and other related areas. And there are academics and technical officers who are assigned to all these AV productions, so you can always get the guidance from them. Also, there is a team of experts who will look into the quality assurance of the video that you have made, and then if there are any revisions that need to be made, that will be mentioned. All you can go through a proper quality check. And then of course the heads of the departments have the authority to, ask their people and then, get the training programs organized. But however, there seem to be a considerable number of respondents, that is 14.3% of the respondents were not aware of this procedure that I just spoke about. Well, anyway, then the researcher also asked about the level of satisfaction on the training they received. Mostly favorable, as you can see, but a little complicated. The complication issue seems to be a little more than the rest of the areas. So I think that is something the trainers need to focus on. And then we also asked about the most challenging part of the production process. The main thing they spoke about was script writing. I think again it's a matter of the SETME trainers. Trainers of the SETME need to pay more attention to this and make the academics get rid of this fear they have about script writing, and also the camera or microphone fright, which can be easily minimized or eradicated totally. We can replace the academic with someone who does not have the fright for the mic
Robo.
or the camera.
We can use the robo.
Yes. And then, however, the common agreement was that they all agreed that that coursework related AV material is very important. It's a very good learning resource, and the ones who have produced them, they were very satisfied with the results they've got, and they do intend to produce such material. And the ones who had already undergone training at the center, they actually prefer to go through more training so that they could refresh their knowledge. Also, they could learn about things that have been newly developed, so which was a positive thing. So basically these are my conclusions. I won't go through them again, and these are my references.
Thank you very much, very interesting.
Thank you.
Any clarification from Mayanti?
Yes, madam.
Yeah.
Every year we have several, madam, depending on the requests we get from the faculties.
Yeah.
Not just one.
Because I think rather than, workshops are available.
Yes.
But the thing is, the interest of the academics, the number of academics who are coming for workshops, I think it's very limited.
Yes.
And there are no excuses that as an ODL institution, academics should be aware of, this is part and parcel of their duties. And also in, Staff Development Center, these induction programs,
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that information is also given.
It is given, madam.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think more than 50% the responsibility is lying with the academics.
Yes.
And also, when it comes to script writing, I have undergone that training.
Yes.
Those days, I think it went through couple of weeks.
Yes.
Nowadays only restricted to three
I
days.
think so, yes.
3 days.
Yeah.
But that's my comment.
Right. Thank you very much. I think that this is a policy decision, so that I will make in the future to include in the appointment letter for the all new recruits to per year 1 AV material minimum. Otherwise, because if we are professors, we are not the professors. Because why? Lack of confidence of doing a lecture session is the first fear, right? Because I have been, working with the ODL, it's not ODL online fully from 2010. So lecturers in the early stages, even, that would not like to, come to the podium. And thereafter that we have recorded the way of your posture, how do you speak, and thereafter that we had, that lot of peer review sessions that, no, this is the way that you need to improve, that when you are, that delivering a session, and you need to keep in mind the flow, or if it is not coming into mind, keep aside the laptop to see.
Yes.
And there are various methods. So this is, commitment and confidence. If the lack of confidence is there, no AV material. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's what I said, right? Okay, thank you very much. It's very interesting. So last presentation, we reached to the last presentation. It's online again. Please limit to the 10 minutes exactly. The presenters intention of continuous use of Zoom for e-learning with special reference to management undergraduates of Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. Presenter is Mr. MIF Abrus. Over to you. Finish here.
Good afternoon, the evaluators in the panel. First of all, thank you all for giving us this opportunity to share the findings of our research on the intention of continuous use of Zoom for e-learning with special reference to management undergraduates of Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. So I'm DGML W. Kumari from Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. So this is the content which we hope to discuss here in this presentation. First of all, let's see the background of the study. Here, this research is talking about the impact of COVID-19 on education. Because of this virus, school and crowded places had to be closed. So many schools turned to online learning. They started using tools like Zoom to teach students remotely. However, some students are finding it difficult to adapt to online learning. This research suggests that it's important to understand why some students might not want to use online education continuously as the situation with COVID-19 evolves. So when it comes to the problem statement, here this research looks at a problem in Sri Lanka where the students don't always want to use technology for online learning. It's because they have limited access to technology and knowledge. Most past research only look at whether students initially like using technology, not whether they keep using it. So this study will focus on understanding why management undergraduates at the Southeastern University of Sri Lanka may or may not want to keep using Zoom for online learning. So the objective of the study is to determine the factors that affect management undergraduates' desire to continuously use Zoom applications for e-learning at Southeastern University of Sri Lanka's Faculty of Management and Commerce. So when it comes to the conceptual framework, we have identified 5 independent variables. The first one is performance expectancy. It is about how much someone believes that using a particular method like an online tool can help them to do better in their task or learning. And effort expectancy. This is about how easy or comfortable it is for learners to use technology. And hedonic motivation means the pleasure and enjoyment someone gets from using technology. And work-life quality. This is related to a person's expectation that using a tool like an e-learning system can improve the quality of their work or learning. And access to the internet. Internet experience is directly related to how easily someone adapts technology. So it's one of the key factors that determine whether someone accepts and use technology. So these variables help us to understand why people choose to use or not use technology or the Zoom in their learning or work. So when it comes to the research design and data collection, here the population, the focus of our research is on management undergraduates at Southeastern University of Sri Lanka. And in terms of our population, we have 1,010 students in the Department of Management, 890 in the Department of Accounting and Finance, 75 from the Department of Marketing, and 425 from the Department of Information System. And to gather our data, we use the technique called stratified sampling strategy from a reference table, Crenji and Morgan in 1970. We determined that 331 undergraduates would make a suitable sample size. However, during the data collection process, we had to exclude 31 questionnaire due to an incompleteness, but we successfully accepted 300 responses which were error-free and ready for the analysis, and we use SPSS 26 version for the data analysis. And when it comes to the results and findings, under that the demographic analysis of our data, here we collected information from 300 students studying in the Faculty of Management and Commerce. These students come from different years of study. For example, 85 from first year, 73 from second years, 75 from third years, and 67 from fourth years. In terms of gender, most of respondents are male. And in terms of the devices they use to access Zoom, most students use laptops. It's around 162 students use laptops, and least of them, mean around 13 students, use desktop computers. And for internet service, 65 students, mean around 22%, use SLT Mobitel, and 95 students and 97 students use Dialog and Airtel. And finally, Hutch. From Hutch, 43 students will use Hutch as the internet service provider. And when it comes to the reliable statistic, here we want to make sure that the things we were studying in our research were trustworthy. So we use something called Cronbach alpha value to check how reliable they were. We found that hedonic motivation was very reliable, like scoring 0.9 out of 1, while effort expectation was a bit less reliable at 0.78. So to be considered good, we need the values to be at least 0.6. But according to Bagasi and E in 1988, all of the things we studied met or exceeded this level. So we are confident that our data is reliable and can be used for our research. When it comes to the correlation result, here we look at the relationship between our 5 independent variables with the dependent variable of continuous, the intention to keep using Zoom for e-learning. And we found that these factors are strongly connected to that. And to check if there was a problem with our data, we use 2 measurements, tolerance and VIF value. When these numbers are less than 0.10 for tolerance and less than 10 for VIF, it's a good sign. It means our data doesn't have a problem called multicollinearity, where variables are too closely related. So the results of our study show that there's no issue with multicollinearity in our data. When it comes to the regression result, here the performance expectancy, which is how well someone think Zoom helps them, has a positive and significant impact on the intention to keep using Zoom for e-learning. And hedonic motivation, or the enjoyment people get from using Zoom, also has a positive and significant impact on the intention to continue using it. And when it comes to the work-life quality, meaning the expectation that Zoom makes work and learning better, has a strong positive impact on the intention to keep using it. And when it comes to the access to the internet, It also plays a role too, and having good internet access make people more likely to continue using Zoom for e-learning. However, effort expectancy, which is about how easy Zoom is to use, has a negative impact. In other words, if people find Zoom hard to use, it makes them less likely to want to keep using it for e-learning. So, now the conclusion here, people's intention to keep using Zoom for e-learning is significantly influenced by how well they expect it to perform, how much they enjoy using it, whether it makes work and learning better, and having good internet access. But when people find Zoom effortful or not easy to use, it makes them less likely to want to keep using it for e-learning. The most important factor that influences management undergraduates to keep using Zoom for e-learning is how much they enjoy using it. In other words, hedonic motivation. In other words, having a good experience with Zoom is a key reason why people continue to use it for their studies. So finally, when it comes to the recommendation, the conclusion of this study have important advices for decision makers, designers, developers, and researchers. They can use these findings to understand what factors are most important when students decide to keep using Zoom for e-learning, especially during the pandemic. Because there's not enough information about what makes the students want to keep using e-learning system during and after COVID-19. Universities and educational institutions that use e-learning for their classes have a challenge. They need to figure out what factors are affecting students' decision to continue using these systems. So this study can help them with that. So this is all about our research. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Right. Thank you very much. So, okay, floor is open for questions. Any questions? Well understood, yeah, well understood. But the Zoom is a learning platform only. Research, of course, that research done something. It's we need to appreciate. And but from the chair, because anyway that there was no any other alternative than the that UGC intervened to introduce free of charge Zoom. Then data is free for the academics as well as students. Because IP addresses, that make it free. From this month onwards, right, per user, every university must purchase a license. So therefore, the Zoom will not be the most attractive, let's say, learning platform for the future. Maybe some other, techniques, openware, like WebEx maybe, I do not know. Some other learning platforms will emerge in the future, right? So then, but it is very easy to use Zoom, and the facilities are there. Thank you very much. Okay. So then, all 5 sessions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, continue with your research, and so we come close to the first session on ODL. So thank you very much for being with us very patiently from in the morning. So I conclude the session. Thank you very much.
Recording stopped.